Hello chess enthusiasts, my name is Miha and welcome to my chessrealm YouTube channel. So we are at the European Championship. Let's go to the fourth round. Very interesting game between Lenaerts and Gabor Papp. Lenaerts had white pieces and he started with d4, knight to f6, c4, e6, knight to c3, bishop to b4, and we have Nimzo Indian defense. White plays the most standard reply, queen goes to c2, and now black castles king side. White plays a3, attacking bishop on b4. Well, the point of Nimzo Indian defense is a battle for e4 square, so if bishop goes back to e7, white simply plays e4, so bishop captures on c3, queen recaptures because white doesn't want to get double pawns. Black plays b6, bishop goes to g5, pinning knight on f6. Of course, knight also attacks e4 square, and black responds with bishop to b7. f3 or d3 are the most common replies. White has decided to battle for e4 square with f3. Now black plays h6, attacking bishop on g5, forcing white to decide what to do with the bishop. White wants to keep the bishop pair, so bishop goes to h4, and now black strikes the center with d5. White plays e3. Of course, if black captures, white is only developing, so black further attacks the center with c5, trying to open the game because black is slightly better in the development. So white has decided to trade pawns, and d pawn captures on c5, and black, instead of recapturing, responded with knight goes to d7. Now this is a pawn sacrifice. If, for example, white captures further on b6, then we have queen to b6 is a very strong move. Queen is very active here on b6 square, targeting b2 and e3 pawns, and also threatening with rook to c8, gaining this additional pawn on c4. White cannot simply capture on d5 because after knight to d5, queen and also pawn on e3 are under attack, and this could get very ugly for white already in the beginning. So in the game, white captures pawn on d5, and black responded with g5, unpinning knight on f6, bishop goes back to f2, and now knight captures on d5, attacking the queen. Queen goes back to d2, and now knight captures on c5. So black has gained both pawns back and is already better in the development and already has initiative. White plays rook goes to d1, x-raying queen on e8. So black responds with queen to f6, clearing this e8 square for his rooks. As stated before, black is already better in the development and has initiative, so maybe here was the time for white to play e4 immediately, because then knight on e5 would be under attack, and black wouldn't have time to place his rook on e8. After, let's say, knight goes to f4, white would capture knight on c5. After black recaptures, white further develops, knight to e2, further attacking knight on f4, and of course white king didn't castle, but black has a worse pawn structure, so this game should be totally fine for white. In the game, however, white indeed challenges this knight on d5, but he does it by playing bishop to c4, and this was already a fatal blunder. Now white loses important tempo. Black plays rook from f goes to d8. When this knight is gone, of course black attacks this queen, so this is a very serious threat, and white cannot simply capture knight on d5 because after rook recaptures, queen goes, let's say, to d2, and then knight captures on d1. Now white wants to preserve the castling right, then queen would have to capture. Of course, queen can capture on b2, but probably black would play first rook to d8, attacking the queen, and after queen to c2, we would have bishop to a6. Now you can see that white king here is trapped on e1. After, let's say, knight to e2, we would have knight to d3 check. After king to f1, the only option, then rook to c8, attacking the queen, preparing rook to c1 with deadly attack on the king. After, let's say, queen to d2, we have knight to c1, attacking this knight who happens to be pinned, and here black gains decisive advantage. So in the game, white plays queen goes to e2, removing the queen out of this d file. But here comes a very stunning response from black. Black plays knight goes to c3, forking both queen and rook on d1. Well, let's see if b pawn captures knight on c3 immediately. We have rook to d1 check. Now either queen or king can capture, but if queen captures, then queen plays Queen goes to c3, attacking both king and gaining one piece back with additional pawn, and later with rook to d8. This is definitely winning position for black. If, however, king captures on d1, we have queen to c3, and now you can see that again white king is trapped, and black only needs to do is to place rook on d8 with a deadly attack on the king. And after the only move, queen to d2, again black captures bishop on c4 and gains the piece back with additional pawn and king in the open. Again, black is winning. So in the game, white has decided to get rid of this rook on d1, so rook captures on d8 with check. After rook recaptures, only now b pawn captures knight on c3, and queen recaptures on c3, it's check. Now let's see where we are. For a piece, black has one pawn, but white is in serious trouble. King is in check and can only go to f1, and now black played queen to c1 check. Now white can either defend with the queen or with the bishop. If queen goes to e1, we have rook to d1, and there goes our queen. So in the game, black played bishop goes to e1, defending the check, and now black plays knight to a4, preparing knight to c3, further harassing queen on e2. So white plays bishop to b3, preparing queen to c2, trying to trade the queens, and this is what happened in the game. Knight goes to c3, queen goes to c1, and black responded with bishop to a6 check. Well, white can either defend with the knight or maybe go to f2. Let's see, if king goes to f2, we have knight to d1 check. Now both e2 and f1 squares are taken, so king could only go to g3, and then we have queen to a3, attacking bishop on e1. Bishop doesn't have any good squares. For example, if bishop goes to b4, we have queen to f4 check, and after king to h3, queen to h4 checkmate. If, however, bishop goes to f2, again we have queen to f4 check, king goes to h3, now h4 sphere is protected, but here we have g4 check. Now if f-pawn captures on g4, we have simply knight to f2, and king cannot go anywhere. White can only sacrifice queen for a knight. If, however, king goes to h3, we have g3 check. Now if king goes to h5, king to g5 checkmate. If, however, king goes back to h3, knight to f2, and again black is winning. So in the game, white had no other option but to play knight goes to e2, defending the check, and now of course knight is double attack, so knight captures on e2. Black gains a piece back and preparing discover attack on the king. Of course, queen cannot capture queen because knight captures on c1, and after king to f2, let's say black laps another piece, and with the piece up, black is winning. So in the game, white plays king to f2, removing king out of the discover attack. Now let's see. Queens can still be traded, or maybe even black could try with queen to a3, but then here in this position, bishop to a6 would be very unpleasant, because if f-pawn recaptures, we have queen to g6 threatening with perpetual check. Let's see, if king goes to h8, then queen to h6 immediately. If king to f8, queen to f6, king to e6, now queen captures on e6, and after black defends the check, we have queen to g8. Of course, queen can defend, but then queen goes back. If, for example, king to d7, then queen to a2, again targeting this bishop, and later pawn on a7 again is very unpleasant. So in the game, instead of capturing the pawn, black plays rook goes to c8. Of course, now black could try to trade the queens, but if queen captures on c1, then simply knight recapture, targeting this bishop on b3. Bishop doesn't have a lot of good squares. Let's say after bishop to d1, we have knight to d3, again double attack on king and bishop. If king cannot go to e2 or f1, because again we have discover attack on those squares. So after king to g3, knight captures on e1. After rook recaptures, we have rook to c1, and this bishop here is pinned. And then this pawn on a3 is also in danger. Tries with the king to f2, we have rook to a1, targeting this pawn. After a4, again rook to a2 check. King may be back to g3. And this is winning for black. This pawn on a4 is going to be captured sooner or later. Rook has to be on e1, preventing this bishop to f1, targeting this pawn on b2. So this is definitely a winning for black. So in the game, white has decided to play queen to d2. Now trading queens here would not be the best option, because if black captures, bishop recaptures, white keeps the bishop pair. Black is a pawn up, but this bishop pair is a very strong asset for white, so it's hard to tell how the game would play on later actually. So in the game, black has decided to grab some material. Queen to a3 was played. Now, maybe white could try with bishop to a6, but after a pawn recapture, queen to d7, targeting this pawn. Well, here black would have to find the correct response. Queen to a2, protecting this pawn on e6, also preventing this discover attack. Well, black can try to interfere with bishop to d2, but then after queen to d5, trying to force the exchange of queens, even in this position, black is better. So in the game, white plays bishop to d1, double attack on knight on e2, and now knight goes to c3. After bishop to c2, we have queen to c5. And here white tries with h4, trying to open the game. Of course, if g-pawn captures, rook recaptures, and then rook to g4, harassing black king, this could provide a lot of counterplay for white. So black has decided to keep the files closed. Instead, knight to d5 was played. A double attack on bishop on c2. Bishop goes to e4, and now after knight to f6, white captures pawn on g5, and black responds with knight captures on e4, forking both king and queen. So white has no other option but to capture on e4, and only now black captures pawn on g5. So black is 2 pawns up and is definitely winning in this position. Maybe white could try with queen to a4, trying to trade the queens, removing the most dangerous pieces. But white probably wants to keep the queen, trying to create some tactical opportunities. Of course, after queen to c2, black forces the exchange of queens. So white plays king goes to f3, removing king from the second rank. Black responds with bishop to b7, and now white plays queen to b2, threatening with queen to h8 with checkmate. But black is on the move and plays a very stunning move. Bishop captures on e4 check. Of course, king cannot recapture, because after king to e4 we have queen to d5 with checkmate. And if king goes, let's say for example, to either e2 or f2, let's say king to f2, then queen to c2, forcing the trade of queens. And once this king is gone, black also captures this pawn on g2. So in the game, white plays king to g4 check, and now black plays bishop to f5 again check. Now king can go either to f3 or g3. Well, let's see. After king to f3, we have queen to d5 check. If king goes to e2 or f2, we have rook to c2, forking both the king and the queen. So if white would play king to g3, we have queen to d6 check. After king to f3, we have g4 attacking the queen and the king, and now king has to go to the second rank. So in the game, white plays king captures pawn on g5, and now we have bishop to g6 check with the queen. Now let's see. If king goes, for example, to f4, then we have queen to f5 check. After king to g3, queen to g5 check, and after, let's say, king to f3, then we would have another stunning move, bishop to e4, attacking the king. If king captures on e4, if we have queen to f5, queen to d4, and after queen to d5, it's checkmate. So here in this position again, white king would have to go to the second rank, and again we have rook to c2, forking both king and the queen. So in the game, white played king to f6, and now we have forced mate in 4 moves. I'm going to give you a couple of seconds to find it. Black plays queen to f5 check. King is no other option but to go to e7, and now after queen to g5 check, let's see. If king goes to d6, we have queen to c5 check. After king to d7, the only option, queen to c7 checkmate. If, however, black interferes the check with queen to f6, then we have again queen to c5 check. After the only move, king to d7, again queen to c7 checkmate. In the game, white played king to d7, and black responded with queen to d8. It was checkmate. So I hope you like this game, I hope you have learned something from it. If you have any questions, my email is below in the description. Of course, I invite you to visit my Instagram page. That's it for now, and see you soon.